Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a Cowboy Bebop live-action podcast update for the Netflix series that is on its way. I am super excited to bring you this podcast today. I have GoProKyo with myself. How are you, buddy?
Hello, I'm good. I just finished doing stuff. I was watching an anime earlier.
Good, right on. Happy to have you on. Today we have a bunch of news to go through. There has been a big update with one of the showrunners who did an interview, and so we have a bunch of information to dissect. There's going to be no questions on this podcast from the audience because we have just that much information to go through. There's a lot of stuff that we're really excited to bring to your attention. Before we
lots of cool news that we were not prepared for until now.
No, exactly. Like literally, an article we're talking about is. We're recording this today on the June 4th, and one of the articles we're going to mention is from June 4th today. The last update we did was back in April, and it's not even been 2 months. I still can't believe it. Just a couple of things, housekeeping notes I want to mention really briefly. If you guys were listening to this podcast on any other platform but YouTube and SoundCloud, you may have noticed that it was taken down. That's because my podcast aggregator unfortunately has a change in plans, and for the free plan we're only allowed to have a singular podcast, which my home and bread and butter podcast has always been anime podcasters. So if you want to just listen to this podcast, you have to subscribe on youtube.com/JaianMusic or soundcloud.com/JaianMusic. There's playlists for both of those, and if you want to follow me on Facebook and Twitter just to know when the podcast gets posted, you can also do that at JaianMusic everywhere. Second thing I want to mention is a big thank you to all of you guys. These podcasts are some of the most viewed and listened to podcasts on the channel. It's really, really appreciated. The last one is almost at 500. Really grateful for that. And finally, I just want to confirm that we will be doing episode breakdowns when the series comes out. That's basically everything. So, Kyo, anything else you want to mention, or should we just jump into it?
Let's go ahead and get started.
So, Kyo's going to be my quote reader today because his quote reading skills are much better. So let's start from here. Basically, we have 4 different articles to go over before the IO9 one, and we also have a red carpet interview, very short, that John Chow did. So the first article, all of these are going to be linked in the description, by the way, we're going over is from inverse.com, and the article is titled, Netflix's Cowboy Bebop will change the anime in one big way. And so one of the first pieces of information we went over here was how Cowboy Bebop is 26, 22 to 24 minute episodes, right? There's 26 of those. And how they're going to format that into hour-long Netflix special episodes for this miniseries. What were your first thoughts here, GoProKyo, as you read this article about the Cowboy Bebop?
So one of the things that they said that they were going to change is that the narrative is not going to be one for one. So now that they've given us that information, that tells me a lot more about what to expect in the future episodes that they're going to be putting out. It tells me we're not going to see all of the characters like introduced in the same way. It seems like they're going to try and do a more like an expanded universe sort of thing. Like, so what they're going to do is, it seems like they're going to kind of maybe fill in the blanks in some places. Like maybe they'll have an episode where Spike and Jet actually meet for the first time, because that was not something that was covered in the show. And it's also possible that they may spend more time just kind of letting the characters breathe, since they're like 45 minutes a piece or something like that.
I think they're going to be literal hour-long episodes.
So they're going to be like movie. They're going to be like movie length almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there might be more space between action scenes, so there may be more like character building moments. At least that's what I'm kind of hoping for. And based on what they said, they're going to expand their narrative, as they put it, and to me that means that they're going to we're gonna kind of get to know these characters a little bit more on a deeper level, which is kind of a problem for me because the way that the show did it was perfectly fine. You didn't really need to know all that much about Spike's past, and when you did, it was interesting because it didn't tell you everything.
Right? But we're adapting it, so this is a new version. What I really like about this is that they're really going to take, like, I feel like, okay, if Cowboy Bebop, the anime, is great, but if we were to I feel like they're gonna take out what's not as great about it, even though we all enjoy it as fans, and they're gonna focus on the best parts, and they're gonna really form a full arc of the story based on those, with like key villains. And like another thing that was mentioned here by Javier was that the tug of war, the three-way tug of war between Spike Spiegel, Julia, and Vicious is gonna be there. We know Vicious has been cast in the show as a villain, so we could, Vicious is like one of the best parts of the anime, so we know there's gonna be a focus on that. So I don't know, I really feel like a lot of rich material is going to be kept in and adapted because of the way that they're deciding to go about the storyline.
I kind of see what you're saying, but like from just from the way it sounds like this is what you want to see, not so much about what you think that they're going to do. At least that's what it sounds like to me. I know, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like it's just it seems like they're going to expand on stuff where it doesn't need to be expanded, because like in my eyes, a lot of things should be show, don't tell. If you're going to do a movie, a TV show, or literally anything with film, you may as well use more visual than there is just audible talking, or more than just audio. And I know that's a weird thing to say to a sound designer, but my my point is that like I think if they just stick to, or if there's a distinct style to Cowboy Bebop and they don't have to copy it verbatim, and I like that they said that they're going to try and go in their own direction, so I'm interested to see what they're going to do. But right off the bat, I can already say it's not going to be as good as the original anime was, but it's still going to be at least interesting.
It's gonna. I am open to seeing fans say that this piece of media was gonna be better to the anime. I think that's a possibility, way more than Death Note. I wanted to, if you may, read a quote from me, Kyo. We are down where it says a gathering of influences, where Javier goes into the complex dynamics of producing an American version of Cowboy Bebop. Do you want to read that quote for here, where he talks about the influences?
You've got an entity that is very much kind of a gathering together of influences that are very important in post-war Japan. Jazz, American pop culture, the whole sort of cowboy thing, reality television. So you're looking at a show that's already a commentary on the influence of American pop culture with Japanese culture in the future in space. And then we're taking that, and then we're trying to translate that not just in English, but also in the format that is not the original format of the show.
Yeah, exactly. Like that quote to me speaks to the challenge of this whole project.
This whole idea is like kind of cursed from the start, but I feel like there's enough. But I feel like with the way that they're talking about it, it sounds like they've got an idea of what they want to do, and at the very least, I'm curious about what they're going to produce out of that, because they're very aware of what the challenge, what the hurdle is of making this program.
100%. I think like I can understand where you're coming from, where you say like it's a curse, because there's so much there's so much information in this anime. But I feel like with the experts we have working on this, that it's gonna be able to be done. It's absolutely going to be able to be done, to me, in my opinion. And then I could say this quote. It's very much short. Javi also commented on Spike Spiegel. Spike Spiegel has to be Asian. Like, you can't Scarlett Johansson this bleep. You see, so he's really taking all of these different influences into consideration, and you can see that as the showrunner, all of the details that are going to fabricate this entire miniseries are being evaluated very precisely, and it's almost like a mechanical thing, I feel like, because he's looking at the influences will move this way, the casting has to be this way, and you can really see that he's putting all of these pieces and working them together to make the best possible series. Would you agree with that?
So ultimately, like, I think, or I'm not against the idea of Spike being Asian, even though the character was based off of an Asian actor. His character suggests that he's Jewish, and I've been saying that from like the very first episode that we've been doing this. But I do like that they're expressing like they have this. So whenever you build a sci-fi kind of world, you have to have an understanding. You kind of have to have your own you kind of have to have like your history straight of like how things got to this point, and you don't necessarily have to explain it. You just have to kind of you just kind of have to make it so that people understand how you got to this point. Like you could just show a series of images. Like if you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, there's a scene in the very beginning where it just shows oil companies or gas companies, and then they just explode, and then there's like people scavenging and everything like that, and that just kind of sets up the world for it. And in this case, there the episode where the characters find the VHS or the Betamax tape, you just see them go back to Earth, and they just pick up this VHS Betamax player. I don't remember which one it was, but that alone kind of gives you an idea of like Earth wasn't inhabitable anymore, and so they kind of set out to start creating their own human colonies on different planets. So that kind of sets up, helps to set up the world, and I appreciate that they're trying to do their own thing, and they kind of have this idea that the Scarlett Johansson thing that went down with Ghost in the Shell was an issue, but really I think everybody was just complaining because it's an anime and people naturally assume that the anime or that the characters in live action would be Japanese. But in the case of Scarlett Johansson, people were showing excuse me, run out of breath. People were showing pictures of Scarlett Johansson to fans of Ghost in the Shell from Japan, and they were saying, "Oh, she looks a little more like an anime character than a Japanese actor would." So I think that they're kind of trying to attach to people who had that problem, and some of them probably did have that. But I guess what I'm basically trying to say is that they're trying to appeal to everybody, and it's going to be a little hard to appeal to everybody because everybody's got a different opinion. But based on this, it looks like it looks to me like they're going to just kind of keep this expansive and keep it as all-inclusive as possible, because the original anime was pretty all-inclusive. There were black characters, Asian characters, Native American characters. There was a very wide spectrum of different races.
Yes. What I wanted to add though is towards the end of the article, they talk about when they tackled the whiteboard, and they want to talk about like Spike Spiegel, the face of Bebop. They really went into what Spike Spiegel is like. You know, is he super cool? Yes. Is he tortured? Yes. Does he have a lot of tragedy in his backstory? Yes. Is he somebody who's not most sort of effusive with his emotions? That kind of guy? Yes. So they really took the time to analyze each character, and I just think that we're in a much better place than we were with Death Note, which is like one of the biggest comparisons we can make with this. On to the next article. This one comes from tvweb.com, and it says Cowboy Bebop live-action series will bring the spirit of the original anime to Netflix. So I mean, there are just like three major quotes I wanted to go over with this that pulled from the IO9 article that we will be concluding our podcast with. The first one, it was talking about Javier like just stating the fact of the production, which was we ain't playing Bebop. Bebop is playing us, just showing that they're really tangoing and really taking this very seriously with Cowboy Bebop. Any thoughts on this short quote?
Which one? The tangoing bit?
Yeah, the one I just said.
So I think I'll just reiterate in just saying that from them saying that they're tangoing with this episode, or with the episodes, is that they're very aware of the hurdles, and again they're just trying to overcome those as best they can. And I have to say that if you're going to do this, you're going to have to be just different enough that people will accept it as their own thing.
Exactly. The next quote, if you would like to read it, it's the second one. It's super big. You can't miss it.
Oh, okay. You can't look at Cowboy Bebop and say, well, it's just a takeoff point. We're going to give them different hair, different clothing, and we're going to call it something different. And it's sort of going to be a loose thing. If you're doing Cowboy Bebop, you're doing Cowboy Bebop, you know? It's kind of like doing Star Wars.
Which, that quote makes me so happy. They're comparing it to such a huge franchise, and they're taking it very seriously. That's what I took away from it.
That's a fair assessment, I'd say. The thing is that, like, with Netflix, there's a lot more freedom from what I've heard with interviews from people who work on shows that are on Netflix, be it Big Mouth, Dark Crystal, just like it regardless of what the show is, you're pretty much allowed to do just about whatever, because there's no TV guide sort of thing. So there's a lot more freedom to do what you want, and that can be good and bad, because with the Death Note movie, that was bad because they were allowed to do stuff that they uh, probably shouldn't have done, and we'll try not to get back into that, because but at the same time, we're gonna have to make those comparisons no matter what, because this is literally the same situation as last time. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
like, yeah.
And the final quote,
But
Kyo?
anyway, all
Oh,
I'm trying to anyway, all I was gonna say there was like, the fact that they're taking it that seriously is good, but the fact of the matter is they're gonna have a lot more freedom. But as long as the people who actually worked on the original Cowboy Bebop, or like you said, the author is working with them on this, so I feel like that's a good sign. They didn't have
good
the
hands.
they didn't have the manga creators with them on the Death Note movie, did they?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
I don't think they did.
So, and for the final quote of this article, Kyo, do you want to get into it?
We don't want the fans of the show to look at it and say that we failed them or we failed the original. You've got a show where you have 26 episodes that are very full of colorful villains and very colorful stories, very colorful adversities, bounties, and all of that. We're not going to go one-to-one on all of these stories, because we're also trying to tell the broader story of Spike Spiegel and the Syndicate, Spike Spiegel and Julia, Spike Spiegel and Vicious, and all that. But we are looking at the show and saying, who are some of the great villains in this show, and how can we put them into this broader narrative, so that we are telling both of the big stories that Cowboy Bebop tells.
So yeah, that goes back to the overview that they're going to approach this. They're just gonna they're gonna focus on what's the most important and make these hour-long episodes based off of that.
Mhm.
All right. And so the next article comes from Anime News Network, and it's titled "Netflix's live-action Cowboy Bebop show writer teases similarities changes." And from here, we really this article basically covers the same points here. If you're doing Cowboy Bebop, you're doing Cowboy Bebop, and just like highlighting the changes from the anime to the live action. And one of them was talking about the costumes and everything. And before we got on this podcast, you had a pretty strong thought on that, Kyo. So do you want to share what they're changing and how you feel about it?
Yeah, didn't they say that they were going to change Faye Valentine's outfit a little bit?
Yes.
My problem with that is that, like, if they're going to change the outfit, why? I mean, I understand that they want to do their own thing, and that's important to, like, kind of help separate yourself from the original, but at that point, you may as well just be doing a different series altogether. If you're going to do Star Wars, for example, like with what they did with Han Solo, they gave him slightly different outfit, but ultimately he had the same look because it's just the actor and he's older. But the difference here is that they're bringing it into live action. So, and I don't see if there's I don't know, did they say that it was problematic, that the costume was problematic
No,
or
just
anything?
like they're just stating the fact that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't see why they need to change it, because it's Faye Valentine's look, and that's part of the silhouette. Like, if you're going to have, like, for example, if you saw Ed's silhouette, you would know that it's Ed because of the way that Ed is dressed, the way that Ed looks, the frame,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff culminates into the character. But with just like, if you're gonna change it, why are you even bothering to change it?
I mean, I guess I think we gotta look at it. They're not. They are changing. You can say that they are changing, but the way that the more specific term is that they are adapting this. You know, and it goes back to the most common thing that I mentioned this several times, is that if you like Cowboy Bebop, watch the anime. This won't be the anime. It will be an adaptation of the anime, and changes such as costuming are part of the adaptation. That's the only like piece of information from this article, really. The next one was from comicbook.com, and it's titled "Netflix's Cowboy Bebop writer has nothing but praise for John Chow as Spike Spiegel." And so in this one, Javier just really goes into how much of a fan he is for John Cho, as he's seen him in comedies, he's seen him in drama, and he really thinks that he can do anything. And I'll read the quote right here because it's only a sentence long and it's right in front of me. He goes and says, "To see John Cho bring his wonderful mastery of acting to this character, and then also to see the level of physical preparation he's done for this is stunning." So I mean, this is just comforting in my opinion. What about you?
I mean, this just tells me that that they're enjoying John Cho's. Basically, all that I'm seeing with this is that they're enjoying John Cho's company on the set, and he's doing well with the role. That is, I'm not surprised by it. I'm just wondering, like, because a lot of times directors see the overall picture and they don't always see like what's right in front of them. Like a lot of behind the scenes stuff, you'll see directors praising actors, but then when you see the actual movie or whatever it is, it's not very good. I mean, I'm not saying that just because it's John Cho that he'll be a bad actor, and I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff, so I wouldn't know. But the one thing that I did see him in, I've seen him in Hawaii Five-0. He did fine there. But beyond that, I just want to honestly be able to see it for myself, and then I'll decide how I feel about it.
We'll have to wait and see what happens with it. But I mean, with this praise, I just think it's a really good thing. Okay, let's get into we always go on the IMDb page for this release before we do the podcast, and I'm gonna pull the audio for this very short 43-second interview that John Cho teased for the Cowboy Bebop release. The video is titled "John Cho gives a Cowboy Bebop tease," and described as, "On the red carpet of the 2020 Oscars, John Cho teases the style of Cowboy Bebop, the upcoming live-action adaptation of the wildly popular anime series that's coming to Netflix." So we're gonna play that audio for you guys right now, and we might pause and react as we're going along. So
I haven't seen this before. I just now heard about it.
We know with Cowboy Bebop coming up, people are so curious. So why should fans be amped up about Cowboy Bebop?
Oh, I think it's going to be really unique. It's as far as the visual elements, the story elements, I don't know how to put it except it's its own thing.
It's its own thing, Kyo. It's gonna be absolutely unique. Do not compare this, and it's an adaptation to the original. So I really think that we can make the point and differentiate. Right? Would you agree?
No, I don't.
Well, oh, really? Why is that? That's interesting.
Well, here's the thing. If you're doing an adaptation, you are still drawing from a source material. If you're making something different, then you would just be taking elements of that. So I don't think that's entirely what they're doing, because if, let's just say that, for example, you made it, or there's a couple of movies that have done this. Like, if you're adapting a book, and you take certain bits and pieces out of it, if you rearrange stuff, you kind of create your own thing. There are some movies that have done that.
You know what I mean?
Huh?
Like if you take bits and pieces and then rework it, you can make it its unique thing. That's like it's just a short
but here's the thing, though. It's still carrying the fact that it is an adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, and Cowboy Bebop has a manga and a TV show already. So it's essentially trying to take what,
Because the point I'm trying to make is that can it be unique, and I think it can. That's the point I'm trying to.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it won't be. I'm saying that you can't disconnect it, because you are still taking that same story. You're still taking the core concept and then making something out of that with all these characters and all these stories. They're still making something, but they're trying to keep it separate so that way you won't compare it. But fact of the matter is that we're going to have to compare it to the Cowboy Bebop anime, because that's what they're drawing from.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say that I'm going to judge it more harshly. But when it comes out, and if it's not as good and there's certain things that the original did better, I'm still going to make those comparisons.
Yes. Okay. Let's get back to the interview. Just 20 seconds left.
It hardly fits in any other category. It's tremendous. Yeah. I'm really proud of it.
So you've given us like a huge question mark there, but yet we're more intrigued now than ever.
Yeah, sorry. Listen, I'm just here to campaign for an Oscar nomination. Hopefully it's not too late. Retroactively, I want one for Harold and Kumar too. Yeah.
We'll get some write-in ballots then for you.
I'm not doing your work for you anymore.
Yeah, okay. That was basically it. Yeah, okay, well give him an Oscar. This is gonna be so unique that we're gonna give you an Oscar. All right.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Let's go to this final article here. IO9, basically, this is what all of the other articles stemmed from. This article birthed the articles. This article here is the reason why we are podcasting right now. Basically, everything was mentioned somewhere in this article from IO9 titled, "Of course, John Chow gets a super effing cool." Is going to be super effing cool in Cowboy Bebop. Is that there's already a first cut of the first episode produced. So things are coming along.
Start.
So at least we can know that the knee injury doesn't happen in the first episode. All right.
I mean, it would kind of be cool if they like released a clip or something. Then we would have more to go off of. Like, I'd love to like see a clip of like, or just like a unfinished clip of what they've gotten so far. Like maybe just a snippet of one of the episodes, so we can see like what the visual style is going to be like, what the writing style is going to be like. Like, a single clip is going to help a lot with our analysis of what we're thinking so far.
100%. Okay. So we went over all of these articles. They are all linked in the description. So you can go follow that if in case you want to like get more for yourself. I don't know when the next update is gonna come out, but hopefully
we never know when these are coming out.
We really never know. It's just like the magic of this podcast. The articles were from we had one from Inverse.com, TVWeb.com, Anime News Network, comicbook.com. I put more music out. You should make an article about that, by the way. And IMDb Video and Gizmodo, IO9. So those are all of the 6 places we have gathered our sources from, all linked in the description. All right, GoPro, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me at Newgrounds, and all of my social links are on that Newgrounds page.
Perfect. Do you want to maybe, because we have a lot of new viewers that are like listening to this more than like the usual JaianMusic viewer. Do you want to like let people know what you actually do though?
I'm an animator by trade. That's currently my that's my main goal right now, is just illustration and animation. Right now, you guys can find most of my artwork on Newgrounds. I've kind of slowed down as of late because I've got other projects that I'm working on. But if you guys want to see me doing some voiceover stuff, I'm always available for hire. You can find my demo reel put together by Jaian here, actually. I have the video in apparently 4K. I didn't know I could upload it in 4K, but it's like a minute-long video, and it's just visual cue or whatever. But yeah, if you guys want to see some of the stuff I do, you can definitely check out my channel. I'm the guy who does all the artwork for the podcast. I put together the thumbnails, or I just take images off of Google.
Hire me if you want images off of Google. No, I'm kidding. So, for this podcast, you can follow it on youtube.com/JaianMusic or soundcloud.com/JaianMusic. If you like anime podcasts and you want more, you can follow Anime Podcasters. It's another podcast I do with my co-host Hotshot. It's everywhere on all of your podcatchers. Just type up Anime Podcasters. We're also on Facebook.com/Anime Podcasters. For myself, I am JaianMusic, an audio engineer, composer, sound designer. If you want to hire me, JaianMusic.com is the place for that. And you can also follow me on all of my social media at JaianMusic. You can join my Discord server. And just a big thank you to everyone that has been listening to these podcasts. And so for myself and GoProKyo, this has been another update, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.